I've been waiting years for this moment. We are in the glory days when it comes to lore for Genshin Impact now, so buckle up and enjoy the ride. Let's go. Alright, so massive trailer dropped here. We got the 4 shades, we got the harbingers. So much lore dropped on us randomly. Where do I even begin? Let's break it down. Let's go over this trailer. I'll give you my initial thoughts and we can discuss it. And some different implications for the future of Teyvat and Genshin Impact as a whole.
Always been so. Life abides no reason, for none are born by their own consent. Death abides no reason, for it cannot be defied, even by those who see it coming. Time abides no reason, for it deprives us all equally, yet brooks not a second to be reclaimed. Space abides no reason.
So I love the intro to this trailer because it just signifies that as humans, and this whole game is about humanity overcoming the gods itself, with Pierro, the first humans under the primordial, and that's the whole theme. And all of these concepts, time, space, life, death, they are not only concepts that make up existence itself, but like how she describes it, you don't get permission to be granted life. Death comes no matter what, even if you see it coming. Time is a concept that strips from everyone, all of which are monumental concepts and just aspects of life that are so out of our control as human beings. But then when she gets to the shade of space, Asmoday, it completely cuts out, and that's a big theme around this trailer and the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles, which, by the way, I gotta say, I was wrong about the Sustainer in saying that she was the Shade of Space. I initially did not think so, but now it's confirmed that she is. So I gotta admit, I was very wrong about that. But I am not disappointed in the slightest. Also, I gotta say the designs of the shades are top notch. They all look so good, and finally getting to see Rhine-Daughter. So many Easter eggs, like how Istroth turning the leaves back in time, having both the life and creation symbols in Rhine-Daughter's eyes. We thought she completely absorbed Naberius, basically becoming the new shade from Albedo and what he told us, but it seems that they kind of share this existence now, and the other shades seem to tolerate Rhine-Daughter. You also see that same symbol on the book this elderly lady's reading, narrating how the Shade of Space trapped us at the beginning of the game and separating us, how their existence is now corrupted. And then of course Renova, the Shade of Death, who played a prominent role in Natlin. An absolute masterclass of a design. And it would also seem that I was humbled twice in one day. Again, I'm not disappointed about it, but I was wrong about Venti being the Shade of Time. Because they share the same VA though, I am inclined to still believe that Barbados is a stem from Istaroth itself, kind of like how the Shade of Life Naberius created Egeria, the first Hydro Archon. But it's confirmed that she is still her own entity, clear as day. And she also seems to resemble Robin from Honkai Star Rail, which I think's a nice touch. As for why they tolerate Rhine-Daughter being a part of the Shade of Life now, I think it has a lot to do with her finding the Shade of Life's heart in a cave in a cavern, with Albedo, as Albedo described. It would certainly seem to imply that something might have happened to Naberius at some point, leaving just her heart intact, with probably her essence. When Rhine-Daughter found it and fused with it, it was just now a necessary evil for the Shade of Life to exist still. Like she says, fusing with you, I lost my sense of agency. So probably no longer bound to the specific duties that she was created to do by the Heavenly Principles like all shades. As the word shade suggests, are shadows of the Heavenly Principles, angels, the 4 apex of all of Teyvat, meant to govern all of Teyvat and humanity alike. But now being merged with Rhine-Daughter doesn't have to abide by that completely, which is why Naberius can state, I will continue to voice my disapproval. Rhine-Daughter's now driving the ship, but Naberius is a part of it. They are merged, but she no longer has the agency to continue the Heavenly Principles path very specifically like the other shades.
No. This looks more like Rhine-Daughter's doing. Please don't litter other people's spaces with your bizarre creations.
I have seen enough to know that repeating this experiment would be fruitless. You seem to wield my power as if it were nothing but a plaything for your amusement. Although merging with you has stripped me of agency, I shall still continue to voice my disapproval. My dear Rhine-daughter, you have my respect, Nibirius. Your nagging is one of the only things that can get under my skin.
And the other shades have to view Rhine-daughter now as an equal whether they want to or not, when she mistakens Nibirius and says, oh no, this is Rhine-daughter's doing. Or how Nibirius voices her opinion how Rhine-daughter treats her powers like a game, like a plaything. Now it's time to talk about the Shade of Space. It's implied that they betrayed the other shades and the Heavenly Principles themselves, switching sides for a new master or ruler that they might have fell in love with, abandoning their duties as one of the four shades, leaving a vacuum. Rhine-daughter makes a comment about how life is tainted now because of the Shade of Space, and then there's the comment about the Shade of Time now tracking history for them, which is implied to be the Travelers, obviously, the two golden-haired twins. They stopped us for a reason, halted our progress, and trapped us here, separating us. What's going on? Especially with the last Archon quest and the weird paradox where future and past events are intertwined, and the Shade of Space was very clearly watching what was going on.
The ruler of space stopped the golden-haired twin travelers and mercilessly tore them apart.
Unsurprisingly, all life here has been rendered unstable, tainted by the ruler of space.
It's clear that Asmoday is not here.
But you're right. There's no trace of Asmoday here. Where has she gone?
These meetings are just a formality. Does it really matter that only 3 of us are here?
I, for one, think that we should find her. Since the Heavenly Principles cast us as shades, not one of us has ever missed a meeting.
What if she just switched sides? Finding her would do more harm than good.
Now there's an interesting idea. Better than being devoured.
Just switched sides? You make it sound like such a trivial affair. We are shades, shadows of the Heavenly Principles. It's unthinkable. Unless she loves her new master more than her own self.
There's 2 possible theories here that come to mind. One of them's the oldest running one in the game, that the sustainer of Heavenly Principles is actually Paimon, their new master that they fell in love with being us, considering how much they adore us and how close we are with Paimon. Plus we know that gods in Genshin Impact can be in a weakened, shrunken down state, and the shades themselves would be the most likely candidates to be able to find somebody that's missing through their powers of life, death, and time. If they cannot find the Shade of Space, being Paimon our companion would make sense in a weakened, shrunken down, hidden state. Plus, there's always been similarities between Paimon and the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles, just from a design, Easter egg aspect, but also in the last Archon quest when we confronted our sibling with Deirdith. Paimon said that she could not see or hear us because we were traveled to a plane where Paimon was not present, but the Sustainer was, because of the weird time and space shenanigans going on. Paimon could not be there because she already was there, when she was in her Shade of Space form perhaps. Maybe she trapped the siblings here to defy this world and break away from her master and her chains. Like I talked about a lot on this channel, there's been a lot of strife between the angels and the Heavenly Principles over the years, and Renova herself has stated her fears of upsetting the Heavenly Principles and their wrath by trying not to overstep their authority. Perhaps Asmoday wants to break away from this, and aligning herself with us is what she sought to do, using the Travelers as a way to potentially break this world, its fate, and its samsara perhaps, this bubble world. But there's also another theory that maybe the Shade of Space was compromised by the Abyss, and the Abyss itself is their new master. They're compromised. I see that as a less likely option, but you never know when it comes to Genshin Impact. The Abyss is the overarching villain at the end of the day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments though. That is just my initial thoughts. I'll have to sit with that more. We also see that Renova has the exact same symbol as Paimon, which confirms that at least one other shade has this symbol if Paimon is the Sustainer or the Shade of Space. We can't see this symbol directly on the other 2, but we know that Hoyoverse isn't going to show us that just directly right now. They're going to continue to keep a little bit of mystery and keep us guessing. And it does look like the sustainer of heavenly principles does have this symbol, but it's on her neck, or it's almost deformed in a way. Just something I thought was interesting. I absolutely love this scene where she says, "You're being gazed from even this far away, and the shade of death can't even believe it. How can somebody gaze reach me here this far away?" And yet it's just a mere mortal from Conria, the jester himself. Just a human that's not even on their level, with 500 years of just festering hate and despise for the gods. What Pierro says in this trailer is powerful.
Renova, do you know that you're being watched?
By whom? Whose gaze could pierce this far? I remember those eyes. It was just before I placed the curse of immortality.
Ah, yes. He's an old acquaintance of mine. I'm sure that working for the Tsaritsas helped him let go of his past obsessions.
The gaze of the gods has always been considered a blessing. Hence the origin and meaning of visions. People have always yearned for the gaze of the gods. And yet, it is said that when mortals look directly upon the gods, they invite their wrath and retribution. And what of it? Lives will be lost, a nation brought to ruins. So be it. It is nothing I have not endured before. I already know the price of gazing upon the gods. So tell me, what is the price of killing a god? The god stays silent, as if the thought had never once crossed his mind. To all those who dare not look up to the heavens, Her Majesty the Tsaritsa says this. Behold! Even the gods have their limits.
Because that is the theme of Genshin Impact in this bubble world. The gods are above humans. Humans abide or pay the ultimate price. Divine punishments. Human arrogation. We're expected to worship and follow the gods blindly, but when we look up to gaze upon them, we actually invite their wrath. So if that alone is enough to invite their wrath, then what is the price for killing one? And that's what the Fatui Harbingers have been about this entire time. Nod-Krai symbolizes the endgame of Teyvat and what the Fatui have been planning this entire time. Seizing authority from them, from the gods. Claiming it for themselves.
Tsaritsa, we will seize authority from the gods.
The Cryo Archon. With her paltry powers, she dares set her gaze on the heavenly principles.
The heavenly principles have yet to awaken. If I were her, I wouldn't pass on that opportunity either. My dear Rhine daughter, you know I cannot allow you to think that way. It was purely hypothetical, Nibirius.
For lack of a direct order, I say it's time we intervened. Of course, to the extent permitted by the rules.
And this trailer just showed how powerful the Shades are in comparison to the Archons even. They look down on the Archons. The Tsaritsa has the audacity to challenge the heavenly principles, and Rhine-Daughter has such a funny sense of humor, making jokes, being sarcastic, but Rhine-Daughter still speaks as a human that was Pierro's colleague, like, the heavenly principles has been MIA. If I was the Tsaritsa, I would also be mobilizing now too, taking advantage of this, which the Fatui are. But then her inner self, Nibirius, says, you know I can't allow you to think like that. We are the shade of life. We can't be thinking that way. because we work for the heavenly principles. And speaking of the gods, Pierro has this epic line aimed at the heavenly principles and the shades, talking about how they want to kill a god, but the god stays silent, like the thought has never crossed his mind. Now that it's officially confirmed without a doubt that the sustainer of heavenly principles is the shade of space, who exactly is the heavenly principles? Who can we expect it to be? This is just my initial thoughts, but it makes me believe that it's going to be another version or variant of Kevin Castellana, since we know Hoyoverse likes to reuse a lot of the same concepts, story elements, and because Nod-Krai is going to run in tandem with Amphorius in its main chapter, with a lot of similarities between Amphorius and Teyvat, you gotta wonder if it's going to be Kevin Castellana with Pierro's comment towards him, if the thought has never crossed his mind. In any given main Hoyoverse game, there's going to be a version of Kevin that plays a prominent role. Those are just my initial thoughts though. And the fact that we're learning that Amphorius itself is a giant simulation, and this trailer itself at the beginning was narrated by M, from the sounds of it and the voice of it, you gotta wonder if Teyvat is this big simulanka, this big story, this hidden world, with its fate and Irminsul intertwining everything together. And I still truly believe that the first angel and the Voyager, this mysterious outlander, are the ancestors of the Conrians with their star-shaped pupils. They share that character trait, and the fact that they were cursed with immortality is because they're not compatible with Teyvat and its laws, its systems, with its controlled fate and memory through the ley lines, because Teyvat functions like a giant computer database. You gotta wonder if Conrians are cursed with immortality because they're not compatible with it. And them being cursed so they cannot die has less to do with punishment and more to do with it could taint or corrupt Teyvat as we know it. Conria as a whole nation is a Trojan horse within Teyvat that should have never existed in the first place. And Teyvat as a whole was created by another version of Kevin, implementing these heavenly principles, these rules, these laws, creating principles and those to govern over them, to uphold this world, its laws, its regulations, and govern over all. But along the way in Teyvat's history, it's never worked out the way it was supposed to. And of course, finally, Columbina, who seems to be glitching in Nod-Krai. Nod-Krai is a place that has a rich history that clearly connects to the moons. And we know that Arlecchino herself was tied to the Crimson Moon, and she also glitched. It's no secret or surprise from myself that's been talking about this for over 2 years now, but all of you as well, that Columbina clearly has ties to the Angel and Seelie race. From her physical features, how other characters describe her, and just how Genshin Impact is as a story, it makes sense to have a Harbinger that's from the Seelie and Angel race. And not all Seelies were banished the same. Look at Nabu, the goddess of flowers in Sumeru, kept her mortal body and her powers. I think it makes sense for Nod-Krai in that chapter for Columbina to obviously be tied to one of the moons, more than likely the Frost Moon instead of a Crimson Moon or one of the other Shattered Moons, because the Frost Moon itself is the only moon that we know of that's still intact. But with the Doctor and his experiments and the Fatui Harbingers trying to defy this world's fate and create maybe their own god that can do that with a new moon, maybe Columbina is slowly becoming what that new moon will be, but it's not complete yet, hence why she's glitching. It's a slow process where she becomes stronger and stronger, or she's a fragment of what's left of the Frost Moon. Just off the top of my head, it makes the most sense to me that she would be linked to the Seelies, but also the moons, because of how important the moons are to Nod-Krai's entire story. Lastly, I did consider the idea that maybe she is the first angel that fell in love with this Voyager, hence her immense power but constellation. A mourning dove in the shape of a heart crying, the damslet, Columbina being a character themed around heartbreak, emotion. That is another possibility that has crossed my mind. But regardless of all of that, Columbina, despite what she might be and what we'll learn about her, is going to be in Nod-Krai and one of the main Harbingers, which in itself is enough for me. I've been waiting for this for so long. Look at my profile picture. She is my favorite Harbinger and my favorite Genshin Impact character. I cannot wait to learn the lore behind her. Hopefully she's playable, but I just can't wait to see what her origin is. What is her story? Why is she the way she is? What is so ominous about her? This trailer came out of nowhere and it did not disappoint. I am so excited for what lies ahead in Nod-Krai, and I want to redo my video going over the 4 shades as well because that video is now completely outdated, and up until this point most of the things we knew about the shades were utter speculation and just little breadcrumbs, so I do want to update that. I still have my 50k sub video I'm making too, plus I have some more Honkai Star Rail videos because that quest was also an absolute masterclass. Lots of videos to make, lots of lore to go over. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what your favorite parts are, what you're most hyped about. If they make the shades playable characters, I don't care what anyone says. That's just printing money. It's just smart business if you ask me. Make it happen, Hoyoverse. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.